Is raising the minimum wage a job killer? Does it just hurt the poor? Squaring off in the power grid, Democratic policy analyst Mark Levine and Republican strategist Terry Holt. Guys, you both have 20 seconds to make your case. Terry, let's start with you. What do you think?
Well, it's a political recipe for helping people, but the fact is it leaves a terrible taste in the mouth of young people, people at the lower end of the wage scale. I think most politicians think that businesses operate with plenty of margin, but the difference between a $5 wage and a $7 wage may be the difference between being able to hire people at all. And it doesn't matter what a wage is if there's no job there for somebody to be hired into.
Mark Levine, what do you say?
You know, even if you have no compassion whatsoever for poor people, you have to recognize that a minimum wage both stimulates the economy and helps save taxpayer dollars. It stimulates the economy because poor people, $100 to them is like a pot of gold. It's that last bit of money a poor single mother needs to pay the rent or to feed her family. To a rich guy, it's like a typo in a bank account. And that prevents her from going on welfare, becoming homeless, needing unemployment insurance, which costs us taxpayers a lot of money. So it's not just about compassion. It helps the economy.
Mark, what if she just didn't get the job at all because of the minimum wage?
Well, then she'd probably go on welfare, and we taxpayers would have to pay for it anyway.
No. My question is, what if she didn't get a job because the wage is so high, the minimum wage is so high that the employer feels she doesn't have enough skills, so it's not worth hiring her?
Then we taxpayers would have to fund her on welfare or unemployment. It'd be better to have her fund herself, isn't it?
Terry?
It's such a basic lack of understanding here. Jobs have to be created in order for people to be able to support themselves. And in a political environment, minimum wage bills sound good. But when it comes to actually creating jobs, we've got to get off the back of business, get out of the way, and lower taxes so that they can grow their businesses and create jobs. This minimum wage thing, the Wall Street Journal has it exactly right.
Mark?
There's more than a 50% unemployment rate among black teenagers. I mean, doesn't anybody really care?
Mark, I'm going to try this one more time.
All right.
The conservative argument against the minimum wage is that people who don't have skills actually don't get jobs. So I understand the argument is once you have the job, maybe you're making more money, and so you spend more. But the idea is that the minimum wage prevents poor people from actually ever getting the job, so they end up more on welfare than they would have before because of the minimum wage. Do you disagree with that?
I do disagree with that. I've seen the standard economic models, but I also know that a minimum wage gives poor people the kind of power that, say, a rich CEO has. A poor kid from Brooklyn doesn't have that kind of power to negotiate a better price. Look, if they're trying to learn a trade and they get a decent wage, they're going to stick at that job rather than if they take a small wage, they may just leave the job. So it helps the employer as well.
Terry?
I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, you want businesses to grow and expand so that they can hire people not at a minimum wage, but at a competitive wage, at a wage they can live on and succeed in. It seems to me to go totally against a free enterprise that we're going to start making jobs an entitlement in this country.
Mark, why do you think unemployment is higher among teenagers?
Well, look, teenagers don't have the skills that other people do. I agree with that. But you got to remember, the minimum wage, 3/4 of the minimum wage earners are adults. More than half of them are the primary wage earners for their families. So to talk all about teenagers,
and 60% of them work in industries like restaurants, et cetera, where they actually get tips and don't actually get the minimum wage.
Well, it depends on which minimum wage figures you're looking at. The figures I've seen, it's 4.5 million Americans. It's about 3% of the population.
And 60% of it, yeah, I'm looking at the BLS right here, right. All right, guys, thank you.